Well, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is closing in on his second full year as leader of the opposition, and since then, the polls in Canadian politics have been steadily rising in Pierre Poilievre's favor, to the point now that 338 Canada has the likelihood of the Liberals coming out on top with the most amount of seats at less than 1%. Now, traditionally, the Conservatives haven't done so well in downtown Toronto, but something tells me this country's going through a major change when it comes to politics. So we're here at Yonge Dundas Square, or Sankofa Square, whatever the city wants to call this landmark here in Toronto. And we're here to ask locals here in Toronto, if an election were held today, who would they choose between Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives or Justin Trudeau's Liberals? Let's see what people have to say. If an election were held today, and you had to choose between the Conservatives or the Liberals, Justin Trudeau's Liberals or Conservatives, who would you choose?
Probably the Conservatives.
And why is that?
I just feel like generally Trudeau's done a pretty mediocre job, especially over the last term. I don't think, since he called that last snap election, everything that I've seen, his decision making, I feel like the Liberals just in general are just not what the country needs right now. I think a change in direction would do good for all Canadians.
Obviously, politics is a very dirty game. Each party has its promises, but not all the time that they, deliver on those promises, right? So, but the Conservatives, in my opinion, they're looking more, firm on their policies in terms of immigration, with the Palestine issue, housing, right? So I think they would be more, more ready to govern Canadian society at this day and age.
Domestically, what's the biggest issue facing the country you feel needs to be addressed?
Immigration, definitely. We love people coming into Canada. Canada is a very multicultural country, and we're proud of that, right? So, but there needs to be control. We can't have anyone and everyone coming in, right? Because it causes issues in the economy, such as housing, right, jobs, and whatnot. So I would say immigration would be the main issue.
None.
Conservatives or the Liberals?
None.
And why is that?
Because I just feel like my vote doesn't really count. I feel like it just doesn't make a difference.
So for you, it wouldn't really be a matter of who you'd vote for. It's more that you want to see the government change and you want to see the country change?
Yes, pretty much.
We don't have anybody to vote for. So what ends up happening is people either throw their vote to some minor party and lose it that way, or just don't bother voting. And I talk to a lot of people out on the streets, and people aren't interested in politics like they used to be. So a majority of people aren't even voting. If you remember our last political election, only 43% of the actual eligible voting population voted. This is how minority governments form. This is how they can get so few votes yet still come into power, so to speak. So it's a rough decision for all of Canada next election.
So you're not happy about either of those two choices?
I'm not happy with our political system, period.
If an election were held today and you had to choose between Justin Trudeau's Liberals or Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives, who would it be?
Pierre.
And why is that?
It's just Trudeau is not my guy.
Same for you, miss?
I'm half between. I think if it was a different person for Liberal, I would go Liberal, yeah.
Not Justin Trudeau.
And why is that?
Because the way he put Canada in right now is we're not in a good place at the moment.
So for you, it's not a matter of who you would vote for, it's more who you want to see get out of government?
Yeah, more change.
Well, definitely not Trudeau. I don't think so.
And why is that?
I just don't like the way the country's going right now. So I don't know. Maybe a little change would be better. Any change is good, right?
Would you choose Justin Trudeau's Liberals or Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives to lead the country?
I go for Conservatives today because Justin Trudeau up our country.
So Trudeau or Poilievre?
Poilievre's uncle.
Poilievre's uncle?
When he's 95.
Who would you pick?
I honestly, I'll go Conservative. The only thing is with the Liberals, it's been the same story over and over again. Trudeau has passed his time. We need someone new, someone a little bit more fresher. It seems to me Trudeau is he hasn't lost the plot. It's just he spends and spends while we are in deeper trouble in the city. Food prices, gas prices, families have to decide whether to put gas in the car or put food on the table. And I know he said in October, he had a meeting with the heads of all the supermarkets and nothing comes out of it. And it's just a constant story or, situation. I'll look into it. And I'm not saying the Conservatives are going to be absolutely fantastic, but it reaches a point in Canada when you have to go, listen, if it's not new, we still can't go down the old way.
And so it sounds like for you, it's more a situation of you just want the current guys out and you want some change. It's not necessarily that you feel conservative and you want to have a big change with a conservative government. You just want to change it.
I think where Canada deserves a change. The Liberals have always been there, and unfortunately the track record for them, it hasn't been very good. And I'm sorry to say, and I'll repeat it, but if any Prime Minister says the budget will balance itself, that's a grade 5 answer right there. So I'm not very keen on that answer. And the budget hasn't balanced itself. And if that was on an Excel spreadsheet, I would hate to think what the deficit is now.
Would you choose Justin Trudeau's Liberals or Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives?
Pierre.
Pierre?
Yeah.
And why is that?
I'm a conservative. I'm a CPA. I care about fiscal responsibility. And I think Pierre can get it done better than Justin Trudeau. I pay oodles of taxes. It's ridiculous. It's a frustration for most people I know. And we've got to do better with spending, cut the waste. There's an more efficient way to do all the administration and all of the services we have. We just need a team that's going to be committed to doing it efficiently and effectively for Canadians.
If an election were held today, would you choose Justin Trudeau's Liberals or Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives?
Liberal.
And why is that?
Because I don't believe in Conservative Party. Yeah.
You don't like the Conservatives? No?
I think I would go for Justin Trudeau.
I don't speak a lot about politics, to be honest. Yeah.
You think the country needs some change at the government level?
Almost definitely. Most definitely. Yeah.
So if you could vote, would you vote to try to get rid of the current government and replace it?
I'd have to look into more information, but that's definitely something that I would be leaning towards.
What's the biggest issue you think facing the country right now?
Just inflation, just in general, like the price to live. Yeah, the price to live in here and the cost to live, and like in general, just having like so much like homelessness in the area nowadays.
All right, well, you just heard from probably 7 or 8 people from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, some not necessarily from Toronto, but are here visiting. This is sort of the main tourist hub for where people show up in the city. I want to just point you to this section of sign here. It's been stripped. It used to say Young Dundas Square. It's now getting ready for its replacement, Sankofa Square. The erasure of history does not slow down here in Toronto. Interesting about the reactions, however, only one person we spoke to actually said that they were considering voting for Justin Trudeau. They were a supporter of Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party. Most people we spoke to either said Pierre Poilievre 100%, or they don't really care who gets in charge, but it's time for Justin Trudeau to go. If you were to ask that question 2, 3, maybe even 4 years ago, I would bet that the reactions would be quite different. I think the majority of people would look at the current situation back then and say everything's fine. But take a look at the problems that we're faced with in our country right now. Out of control mass immigration, inflation, the cost of living. These things really impact people on a day-to-day basis. And that's what we heard when talking to people here in downtown Toronto. That's what they seem to care about. All of that being said, an election is likely not going to happen for at least another year. So a lot can change from now until then. But if today's answers were an indication of where the country is going, it looks like change is coming the next time Canadians head to the ballot box.